Thank you for being a part of this and talking with me and with us at A Magazine for the arts. I appreciate that. So again, just want to talk about the event here. So Marcy, if you don't mind to talk about that a little bit as the founder.
Sure. So I started this event growing up here as a local artist and having witnessed so many of my incredibly talented and artistic peers move away because there just wasn't a strong support for the arts community in this area was just really heartbreaking and kind of lonely. So I'm really passionate about creating community and creating connection, and so this was my way of creating opportunity for not only artists to connect with each other and find that community of support, but also for everyone in the Northeast Tennessee, Southeast Virginia region to connect, or Southwest Virginia region to connect with art. I think that Appalachia has deep creative roots, and when you get to embrace and engage with art in that way, it helps to, there's a lot of transformation that happens. And so, yeah, I was just really wanting to create those opportunities for connection between artists and artists, artists in the community, community with the art.
That's great. It seems like community is a big thread through your work. Do you mind to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah. My work in itself is about connection. I would say connection between myself and my relationship with myself and my feelings, connection between me and the work, and then helping others to connect with themselves by engaging with the work. So that's another big thread for me, I guess.
Yeah, that's great. And the rest of you, how did you become involved in this festival?
Well, I guess I signed up like back over a year ago when it was going to be put on in 2020, and and then it got postponed to the fall and then the spring, and then this year, a couple weeks ago, maybe like 3 weeks ago, Marcy was like, "Hey, do you want to paint a mural?" And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds about right." Yeah. The clouds just cleared in such a way that other commissions were clearing, and then I do a lot of live music painting, and that was clearing so that I could just focus all in on a mural project. And yeah, I guess. And I live paint all the time anyway, so I live painting musician, so I guess that piece of contributing to the festival today in that way just kind of just flows naturally whenever I'm at a show.
Yeah, very good.
It sounds like she read what I wrote down. That's exactly what happened. There was a period of time where I was free to do this mural for Marcy, but I don't remember how I signed up. But I know I
think I had actually pestered you and was like, hey.
Yeah, maybe so, but I know I was on your podcast, which is, that's an experience on its own, and maybe that's when, but I've slept since then. But no, to do a mural for here, I hope it's fun and enjoyable. I saw some kids playing near it, so that was cool. But it's all about exposure. Marcy is big on the community. This lady here is always dancing and painting. It's cool to be beside such great people, great artists in a festival like this, a first of its kind.
Yeah, that's great. I had a chance to walk around, and I've seen a lot of really interesting art. It's different from what you normally see at art festivals in the area. Could you speak a little bit about how this is a little different from other festivals, or how it has turned out to be that way?
Yeah, I think other festivals in this region focus a lot on crafts. And so I was really specific about making this event more about art other than crafts, traditional Appalachian crafts. And I think I wanted to show that other side of Appalachian art, because I think in a lot of ways when people think of Appalachian art, they think of those traditional things like basket weaving or quilting and things like that. And not that those things don't have a place here, because there's some of that here, absolutely. But I really wanted to focus on the diversity of Appalachian artists that actually exist here, and the diversity in the work that they make, because Appalachian art is not just that. It's so much more. And so I guess you could think of it as contemporary Appalachian artwork, and that's one of the hashtags that I've used for marketing the festival is contemporary Appalachian work, and really I wanted to show that.
on your website, you said in a blog post, you said that it takes more than a village.
Yes.
What exactly did you mean by that?
I mean, again, it's all about creating connection with community, right? So, like, it wouldn't have been the same festival without Jay and Laura's murals. It wouldn't have been the same festival without Jay and Laura's participation in the interviews and Laura's live painting. It wouldn't have been the same experience had they not contributed to it. There wouldn't even be a festival if it wasn't for all the people showing up here today. So we had a huge support from volunteers. My husband did so much, even the artists themselves contributing to this event. So, you know, I may be the person organizing it, but it's so much more than me. I'm just the person that's like, again, sending the emails and helping tell people about it, but otherwise, like, it's this festival is not mine, it's everyone's. It's all the people that are here today.
That's great. So how does it feel to be a part of the festival and seeing it from the other side?
Be honest. Be honest.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, I'm just kidding. No, it's, it'll be, for me, my last festival of the year. And I stay busy, okay? But for me to come out and do this is, the weather it turned out to be great. I'm always fearful of the rain. This festival stands out already, not just for the atmosphere, but for the people. Again, I might maybe talk myself down or about myself, but I'm with people that prolifically create and are wonderful folks, aside from being wonderful artists. And she spoke of her husband. He's helped me out more than anybody else. I mean, he's looking for to assist me with everything. So yeah, being able to speak earlier, climb out of your shell. I mean, look where we're at right now, where we're talking in the middle of the woods in a park, and then behind us is this all-star team of artists that's creating. And to take advantage of an event like this, Marcy sets it up, and we just bat it out of the air. And I'll do that every time. So I'm indebted to be a part of this when it keeps going, and hopefully not virtual, but physical.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, 100%.
100%.
That's great, Jay. And Laura, how about your experience?
Oh man, I'm just like wanting to bounce off of everything. So, well, I think like what Jay is actually like embodying right now and demonstrating, like he's speaking so highly of us, and he's like, it's all about the people who I'm next to. I mean, and Marcy's like, oh, it's not my festival, like it's all these other people around. Well, it's not, and like it's a yes and, right? Because you're like this like web weaver, like you're the one like weaving all of us together. And then the way Jay is speaking so supportively, like I've been experiencing that a lot today. So like my first interaction with another artist is just like, hey, good morning, how's it going? At like 7:02 a.m. and it's just like, but just that kindness out of the bat from a total stranger. And then my friend Brandon with Tennessee Geek Art like comes over and immediately offers to help me as I'm like struggling getting this like cattle grid off of my car and just like and there's just been a lot of help, like artists offering to sit other artists' booths. There's just this like really cool community vibe that feels, I mean, I don't know, like I don't want to sound like cliche and be like, oh, it's something I've been missing. But when you work as an artist, you work alone. You spend a lot of time alone, and you kind of need that I need that to really go into myself and to birth this thing. But what's so cool about today is like I'm getting to see like all the cool stuff Marcy's created, which is the whole this whole thing, and see the way you're integrating us into like we're a living art installation, and I get to like That's actually hang out with Jay.
You're not alone.
Yeah. So it's just really cool. And I was just saying before we came up here, like I noticed I'm chattering a lot. This will be our last sentence, but like I can't tell you the last time I just came to look at art for fun. Mm-hmm. And I didn't do that today, right? Like business is pleasure, it's fun, but like just getting to see everybody's beautiful different things that they have to offer. Like I follow some of these people on Instagram, but to see it in person,
it's totally different experience.
Yeah, it's wicked.
Yeah,
and especially after a year of not being able to have this community, or being forced to have less of a community, and having something like this, it's an explosion of art.
Yeah,
I think that's something we can talk about in a minute, but I think that's important to discuss a little bit.
Well, there's no other event like this. There's like small little markets, but there's nothing, Marcy, like there's nothing like this.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Interesting. So One of the things that I wanted to talk about, and it was kind of mentioned a little bit, I think Jay, you mentioned it just a little bit, is the mural walk. So let's talk about that for just a minute, because each of you have a piece. I'd like to talk about the individual pieces, but just briefly talk about maybe the inspiration behind that and where the idea came from.
Sure. Yeah, that's a big topic. My art is about emotion and expression, and as someone who's grown up in a family and really just culturally in an environment that did not allow for emotions, much less acknowledge their existence, that was really hard. And much of my adult life has been about healing my relationship to my emotions in a way where I can not see them as a negative thing or a downside or even a handicap, if that makes sense. And so my work is about experiencing those and expressing them in a way that I recognize their beauty and power and their usefulness. And so my art is really healing for myself in that way, healing my relationship with myself, and I hope to do that with other people when they engage with it. And so my mural, so as you know, planning this event has been very stressful. I'm not going to lie about that, especially through a pandemic and everything else that's been going on. Not to mention I have a full-time job and a small child. Like, it's a lot. And so I went back to work at the end of May. My place of business, Kiln Time Contemporary Ceramics, we reopened, and so I was back to work full-time, and I haven't been able to paint since May at least. And so finally getting this mural, we were waiting on the supplies from AFM Safecoat that was donating the half of paint for Laura and mine, and it was like I was just itching, like just checking the mail, checking the tracking, like waiting, like where's this paint? As soon as it arrived on my doorstep, I was in the middle of like composing emails for the festival. I was like, slammed my computer shut. I was like, I gotta go. And it was an explosion, just like an outburst. And that's how a lot of my work feels. It just feels like almost like an outburst or a tantrum in the moment. And I have been, because I am a deep feeling person and a very passionate and emotional person, a lot of times I've heard phrasing like, oh, I'm too crazy or too emotional or too much or too whatever. Too much fun, I say. But that's like, I'm always playing with and exploring that concept of what's too much in my work. And so this piece is called Call Me Crazy. And I wrote a little poem about, I get really mad when I hear people call another person crazy, because I'm just like, what even is that? And are we calling them, are they crazy or are they hurting? Are they traumatized? Are they sad? Are they just struggling? And why don't we use words crazy is an easier word than accountability and culpability and complicity. And why don't we use words instead like compassion and tenderness and support? And so that's what that piece is about for me. It's exploring that line of what's crazy and is this crazy? And I'm kind of daring someone to even call it crazy, because, again, what is crazy? So yeah, that's what mine's about.
That's very interesting to me, because I see a lot of parallels in other abstract artists that are known for pushing the boundary of emotions through color and movement and dynamics. I specifically thought of Jackson Pollock. I don't know how you feel about that reference.
Yeah. There was some action happening there. I had the music up loud. I was throwing stuff. It was fun. It was a fun one.
Right. And but I think what I connected the most about it is the how dynamic it is. Not only colorful, but also just dynamic. And I really enjoyed that about it.
Thank you.
And the size, being large scale, which always has an impact, I think. But I think abstract I really enjoyed looking at everybody's work, because me specifically, I was told when I was in school to stay away from abstract art because it's too hard to explain, too hard to talk about from an academic point of view, right? Well, I doubled down, and so some of my work is abstract in photography in a sense. So I really enjoy looking at everybody's work. My work's more non-representational like yours, but abstract meaning. But I enjoy all abstract because it is kind of not taken seriously unless it's a certain vein, right? So I really appreciate that. Laura, let's talk about your piece. I'm very interested to learn more about it.
Yeah. Well, so I have a lot of feelings, and my primary source of like income this summer and on and off over the last 6-7 years now has been going to live music shows and painting musicians while they play. It's this like wild, fun, interactive thing. I'm like, it's spilling all out, like it's just coming out. So there are times, and so that's become more and more abstracted over the years. And so that's what the bulk of my work is, or the bulk of the work that I show in public. But there are a lot of times, like that an image will come to me, and where I'm so used to moving fast, like a lot of my paintings take, an hour or two, or just while the musician's in a set, that actually taking the time to settle down, get a lot of visions, like ideas of something that maybe it's non-representational. More often than not, it actually is representational, but it's like it's not in this physical reality. And so I get a lot of ideas, but I don't often make the time to like transmit them. So this piece was something that came to me over the course of a few days. Like my morning routine is like for my own dealing with my own emotions and being able to be present is like go work, exercise really hard usually most mornings. Sometimes it's just a walk. Usually it's like exercise pretty hard, do yoga, meditate, get calm, and usually something comes to me, but usually I just like go on with my day. But this piece was something that came to me in meditation, and a mantra I've been working with a lot, which is the title of the work, I Am Enough. And like sometimes like when I'm sitting in meditation, like the image that comes is someone sitting, and there's just like this really strong connection for me with nature. It's the way that I'm able to, the exercise almost has to be outdoors. It's just the way that I feel most connected. And so I think at first the image was just a person sitting alone. I am enough, but the more I think about that, the more it's actually, that's an illusion, because like I alone, I'm actually not enough. Like I need this like amazing air that we're all immersed in that comes from the trees. Like I need that. And I need this to be grounded in. But I also need all the people, and I need the animals. So alone, actually, I'm not enough, but I'm resourced enough to know how to get the things that I need in this world. And so for me, that has a lot to do with the connection with everything around me. So really, I thought of titling it We Are Enough. And so that's the mantra I've been working with, is I'm enough, there is enough, I have enough. A lot of artist scarcity mentality stuff going on. And I think it's my idea that maybe if everybody was able to like embody a little bit more like this I am enough, we are enough thing, we might not run around so much like chickens with their heads cut off, like polluting everything, or trying to make as much money as possible. If we actually felt, like maybe like having friends is enough, getting to like put my feet on the ground every day is enough, getting to pet my dog is enough.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I enjoy hearing about other artists' process and how they come to the images that they come across, whether it's an explosion or whether it's letting nature speak through you, essentially. Thank you. So for the final piece in the mural walk, Jay, could you tell me more about your piece and your work?
I love critters.
I love them too.
Marcy mentioned
I love the way you painted them
opossum, and I'm like, I didn't know what I was going to do. Can you do a mural? Yeah, I don't know what to paint. I can make a mess, but why not make some fun critters? And that's emphasis on fun. I just wanted people to have fun and There is energy there with the colors I choose. But I grew up in Kingsport, Johnson City, and Mountain City, so I've always had a time with animals. And I raised box turtles for a while. Like, people would look at me and not think that, but that's true. And so I think you can learn a lot of things from animals, nature in particular. But you can learn a lot of, like, a turtle she's not taught how to be a mother. You know, nature does not answer to us, right? And I don't really have anything deep with nature with this painting. I just wanted kids are going to see this, and they're going to say, what is that? They're going to ask, what is that hanging from the tree? What's that snake, right? Don't be afraid of that snake. Just don't bother that snake. I grew up where country boys would cut the heads off snakes on site. Why? And I just wanted to show these critters are together, and they actually look like us right now. Politics are put aside, everything we have in our homes are put aside. We're here together, and so are the critters. They don't answer to us. They're out in the tall grass and the trees together, functioning with a purpose, like we have right now. Art definitely has given me a purpose. So I guess it's kind of a reflection in a very cartoonish, goofy way of kind of us, or maybe how we should be.
I like your style of art. I think it's very approachable, and I think I read an interview where you said something to that effect. I believe it was you said that you wanted your work to be equal parts inviting and contagious, and I think this work is like that. But I'm very confused about the robot. Could you speak a little to the robot?
Yeah.
That was my favorite part.
Yeah, the robot. That's a tongue-in-cheek way of kind of acknowledging that we're going too fast with technology. It's like an unofficial logo of mine. I have another reason I won't say, but it's kind of like this is coming next. I use it to say, like, do you want this? And I'm a big fan of, like, the sci-fi block-headed robots too. So it's a way to sort of do something I like, but also to tongue-in-cheek kind of give a warning. And so that's why I have a bear, not mauling it, but maybe taking it somewhere. Yeah, maybe taking it somewhere to have a discussion with this technology that's impeding on most things. So yeah, that's why the robot head's in there. I knew that would come up at some point.
Interesting. Well, after meeting all of you, I can see how all of your pieces reflect who you are and your ideals, and I think that's really good art. Specifically, is when you can kind of lose yourself and learn about the artist by looking at their work. I found that fascinating. We spoke about the event, everyone's art, a little bit about the process. One thing I did want to talk about is, and Laura, I'll start with you if that's okay. I see a little bit of a theme that I wanted to ask about, and that is that art as a therapeutic practice. And I wonder if you could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah. Have you been reading my stuff online? I'm like, how'd you know that? Because if you just look at my musicians, you know.
I did research it.
Okay, I was like, how'd you know that? Yeah, well, so actually, yeah, so art's just been this, I haven't spoken a lot about this publicly. Art's just been, like, with me since I was, like, alone, like an only child, like didn't have a lot of friends or family to, like, well, I did have family members who were older, but like I was alone a lot, and so art was my way of connecting with the other world, and kind of also my way of communicating. It was like, I might not know this person really well, but I could be like, look at this thing I did. And then I had a lot of just emotional disturbances and like a pretty turbulent adolescence and young adulthood, like many people. I think we live in a culture that maybe doesn't support like coming to age in a way that cultivates true wisdom. But yeah, so I had a really rough time, and like I didn't have to, art was with me the whole time. And in fact, when I was going through a really rough time in college, my parents were like, hey, like, why don't you take an art class? And so I could go to art class, like I didn't have to be sober to go to art class. I didn't have to, yeah, like, and there's a lot of artists who go through this, right? Like a lot of us are different creatures, and we are processing the hell out of our emotions and it's this whole kinesthetic whole body experience. So, and I was a psychology major, and I didn't realize this at the time, but I was super attracted to psychology. I just wanted to understand myself and like what was going on with me, and understand the world and other people and how to engage with them. So yeah, over the years now I didn't know at the time I was processing a lot of emotions and a lot of self-loathing and self-doubt. But now it's this usually it's this beautiful thing, and I'm like, oh, I get to see where it's been. Or like, yeah, I had this vision and meditation this morning, and I get to read that. But sometimes it's like a oh my gosh, I have this thing pent up, and I'll be like, oh, and Ricky, my partner's like, do you need to go do yoga? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, you need to go paint. And then I paint, and it's wild. And so it's so cool because art is this somebody else said, it's just this thing you get to carry with you, and it's a souvenir of all the places you've been.
That's a beautiful way to describe it.
Yeah. So I did think I was going to be an art therapist for many years, but I'm not sure about that right now. I would just make the statement that I'm still using it for myself therapeutically, and maybe one day I can help support others to use it in a way that cultivates their highest self as well. Or maybe their deepest self, their most rooted earth self.
Interesting. Jay, what would you add to that, if anything? Is it therapeutic for you? And if so, which part? I'll add that to it.
Yeah. There's a lot of loss in my life. I had a friend I considered a brother. And I also had my twin sister. She passed away, and he went to prison. So I didn't grow up around a lot of good things, and so disappearing in the woods and catching toads and turtles, that was my way of coping. But too, just like Laura said, I had art. I had this ability that I felt like Nightcrawler from the X-Men. I had this superhero power, this mutant in class. I can finish someone's map. I can draw Sonic the Hedgehog, right? And, but yeah, therapy for sure. Purpose. I don't know what I would be doing now. It wouldn't be bad things, but it might be mundane things. I owe a lot to art. I owe a lot to artists that owe a lot to art. When you do feel alone, you come to these events, and that's erased, at least for an hour or a day. And that's why I stay on top of other organizations and try to make sure, give that artist a day, at least. You don't know what you're saving. You don't know what commercial, what clothes, what movie, what franchise you might be either uplifting or stifling. And it's free. So for me, yeah, I wanted it in my own life. I didn't know what it was like to be a twin-less twin. Had no idea. I have that idea. I embrace that idea, and it hurts. It still hurts. So I paint, and I paint in a way to be inviting and be contagious, because I like your reaction. I like you seeing it and feeling good. And I can go the other way too, and I don't mind you feeling bad too, or thinking, because that's what this is for. So yeah, therapy. I don't have the big words for it, but it is that, and it gave me a purpose. And now my great grandmother's proud of me. So I'm winning. That's good. That's a good thing. But yeah, therapy is the $2 word. The $5 word is yet to come.
Thank you for that response. Thank you both for that response. Marcy, I'm curious about what would you respond to that question? Is art therapeutic for you, and if so, which part of the process?
Yeah, 100%. My art absolutely is my therapy. I've been every time I get on the stage, I'm thanking my therapist, because she's been a huge catalyst in not only helping me get through everything for this event, but my recent collection, There Are No Bad Emotions, was born in her office. She asked me what would it look like if I painted my fear, and it was just like I saw it. We were 15 minutes into an hour-long session. I was like, I have to go. Here's your money. Great job. You did your job. I gotta go. It's ready to get out. Awesome. Could not. I got home and started it immediately, and 11 paintings later, it was just this. My emotions in every color of the rainbow, basically. For me, I have experienced a lot of traumatic events in my life, and my art is my way. I have this story, okay? So I'll try and be short about it. So I have this story. In my mom's house, she's got a creepy dark basement, and you go down the stairs, it's like a 180-degree turn back on itself, and then it's a 90-degree turn, so it's this windy hallway. There's not windows in it, it's very dark. And so when I was actually I was in my 20s when this is happening. I was going downstairs and the light was burnt out, so it was dark. And at the end of this long hallway is this great room, and when you're walking into that room, there's a giant mirror. And like for me, mirrors in dark rooms, it's like Candyman. I saw that too many times.
Yeah.
Got to count how many times I say that name. Anyway, I see that mirror and immediately see Candyman and that little leprechaun from the 90s movie. I know, thank you. Behind me, and I take off sprinting up this hallway, and I turn too soon and run face first into the wall. Like, had stumbled back, lost my glasses, like Velma from Jinkies, like, where are my glasses? Like, put my glasses on and then sprint up the stairs. I was terrified. And so, like, for me now, where I am now, I'm not so scared of the dark, but like that's what it's like when you start to revisit your trauma. It's going into the dark, scary hallways, and there's a lot there. And for me, my art is my way of going into those hallways and opening up the doors of regret and shame and guilt and fear and doubt and all those things, and going into those rooms and turning the lights on and unpacking what's there and then leaving it. And so my art is absolutely my way of healing my past and my relationship to my past so that I can have a future. So yeah, definitely therapeutic.
Great, thank you all for that. That's a great response. So I want to spend a little time talking about just art in the region and how it is for y'all. I believe that you all are from the region. Or at least make art in the region. So I'm just curious about your thoughts about kind of art today in the region and what it might look like or how different it might look in the future. Yeah, we'll start from there. What's your feelings about the art in the region and about making art in the region? We'll say that.
Jay, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll start, yeah.
You go.
Well, you know, this area is considered a melting pot, and you can go up and down the aisles here, and the art is the same. Everybody has something different. It might remind you of this or that, but just like our fingerprints, our art is the same. And I just think there's such a hotbed of talent here that's been suppressed and not really tapped into. I mean, it's at the beginning stages now. I used to say a couple of years back that there's a movement coming, but we're actually in the movement. I just, quite frankly, I didn't think I'd ever be in it or someone that's recognized to be in it like I am now. Like I said, I started drawing on my mom's discarded mail, and here I am doing murals for a festival. Again, I'm winning. You know, I can hang my hat on that. But it all starts with community. It all starts with networking. That's the two most important things. It's not art specifically related. Wheeling and dealing, trading, bartering, all that stuff America is really supposed to be about. And we're doing it here right now. We're a perfect example of it. But we're having to do it with stuff. We are superheroes. We make things out of nothing. We're the only ones that do that. We make something out of nothing. And I got on stage earlier and said it doesn't have to be about always congratulating the artist or always complimenting the artist, but there's got to be a way to support art and one day maybe talk about the future. Maybe we can go we can get the attention like football does, or and not that football shouldn't get attention, but we can be on that same level of attention because it does matter. It's the first victim in schools that gets cut is art class, not football. The art class. And what do you tell that kid that can't catch a ball but can paint? See you later. I mean, how many Kanyes and Elvises have come and gone with the dismissal of school? And so I'm hoping that with heavy hitters, and I really mean it. Maybe we can make a difference, and we're paving for little eyes that's watching now. I really do believe that. I might be wrong, and I'm okay with that, but I think that we're laying down the road for Could you imagine what they're going to be able to create after us if this is a thing? If our cities and our towns that are not too apprehensive to let this thing breathe, could you imagine if the chains are broken? What's going to happen in the next few? I can't wait to. I have a 12-year-old sister. I want to be in a show with her. I want her to outdo me. You know, so. Yeah, like I could only imagine. Look how awesome is that?
I know, so beautiful.
But really, the future. I mean, no one knows the future, but a future with art is I mean, come on, that's a win-win. It just doesn't need to go away. I've survived 2 or 3 movements with art in this area, and it's come and gone. It didn't stick, and these folks that I'm beside and that's behind us, they're heavy hitters. And this might be their first show, some might be their last, but they're here and they can't say they weren't. And that stuff matters. I'm big on. We gotta have a group photo.
I'm so glad you did that.
Because this stuff needs to be recorded. It's just gonna be a burp in the wind. It's not gonna matter unless we make it matter. And none of these cities. Tennessee's known to make a lot of famous people. Just look up who's from Tennessee who's famous, and you'll be going, whoa, Samuel Jackson, Justin Timberlake, Usher. You'll go, what in the world, right? And it's not about that, but I'm saying, like, there's something in this soil here, right? There's something here. But not all the time for visual artists, and that's where we come in, and that's where we try to turn heads, and that's where we try to convince and persuade, and maybe even just, hey, look over here. Look what she's doing. Look what she's organizing. And I think Marcy's made a big sound today, with featuring guest stars, right?
Yeah.
I think this is a big thing, and like I said, I'll always be a part of it.
Thank you.
There's some surrounding areas that can take a page of this, and bookmark it and go. I need to call her.
Very good.
Thanks.
Laura, what would you say about the art in the region? What's it like being an artist in this region?
Well, I just want to underline one thing Jay said, which is like, and Marcy was saying, yeah, thank you, Jay, for like organizing that picture. It's people like you saying, hey, this is important, this is a big deal. That is what makes it a big deal, right? Like, if you didn't say on Instagram the other day, like, hey, I want to get a picture of all the artists like making this movement happen here. I'm like, oh, I'm part of a movement now. Being an artist in this region is cool. So I grew up in between Abingdon and Bristol. So every year I went to the Highlands Festival as a kid. It was huge. It was 3 weeks long. It was like I saved my allowance money every year so I could buy glass things that are in boxes now, but were super cool, you know. I went to the William King Art Museum when I was a kid. I never thought I'd have a studio there now, but you know, the places I visited, like all these seeds were planted. And I do think artist movements they ebb and flow. Like I'm not sure, at least what I've seen, I'm not sure it's going to be like a steady like, oh, you know, that's what Asheville is now. And there are beautiful things to that. And then there's also, you know, a shadow side to that too, like everything else. But I'm liking the wave that I'm on. I'm not trying to get off of it. It's wonderful. So I can't believe I'm old enough. So I was at Rhythm and Roots, you know, a couple weeks ago, and I had this, I would say a woman, come up to me, and then, but she turns out she's like 21, and I forget, I'm like over a decade older than that now. She's like, I've been watching you paint since I was like in middle school at the brewery in Abingdon, and I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And I've never had to be like, I'm such a big fan. And I was like, that's a thing? I'm a fan. But she was young enough that she's been seeing me since she was a kid, and she said, you've made me believe, so you're right, Jay. She said, you made me believe I can do it too. She's like, I want to do it. I'm like, oh, like you're an artist, you're a painter? She's like, yeah, I'm taking all these painting classes in college. And I'm like, well, is there like, breweries tend to like people who do things like this, you know? I was like, is there a brewery near you? She's like, yeah, actually there is. There's one I'm thinking about. So, and she's away in school right now, I think in Georgia. But so that's been wicked cool. And the one other thing I want to bounce off of what you said, I was just thinking the other day, the kids in school, like, it's like, there's this track you can be a jock, you can do this thing with the team, and that's a pattern you can follow. You know, you can be on the science and academic team, and that's a pattern you can follow. Or you can, you know, you can be on the whatever. But like, but this does show all the diversity of the different paths that you can follow. So us getting out here and getting weird, and Greg Hauser being an amazing painter, but then taking it, putting it on ceramics and encaustics and making it his own. What if we didn't have to do this or this or this, but what if there's the person who's like, a tennis player but a reader, and they find some way to like turn that into sculpture. I don't know. So I would love to see more mentors. Yeah, I'd love to see more of this and more ways to get youth involved and think and just like doing their own thing and having that be cool. Having it be cool to like be totally weird and like explore your own thing instead of like walk down this path forever.
Or else.
Yeah. Because we all know how like happy that ends up. I think most of us tried that.
Yes.
I think it turns into a painting.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So maybe actually it all works out.
Yeah,
So finally, Marcy, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this region, kind of bringing it back home. We kind of started talking about the event, and kind of your thoughts about, which you kind of talked about already, like why you started it, but your thoughts about art in the region and how maybe this is different and why that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, for me growing up like as an artist in this region, honestly, it's been isolating and it's been lonely and it just, in my family, it was like, that's not a thing. Like, you can't be an artist. I mean, you can make art on the side for fun, whatever, or for people for free. You know, if they ask you for it, but otherwise, like, you need to be making money. So for me, I feel a huge momentum around the arts movement and the arts community in this area. And I mean, I started to feel a lot of that when I was putting this event together and getting connected to so many artists and learning about Jay and Laura. I already had a relationship with you, but other artists that I didn't know before I started putting the festival together. So when I started putting it together and started really feeling this momentum building, it was just like, and again, you know, this was born from my desire to have that community and that connection and support of other artists and to be able to support other artists. And so now it feels like, I mean, for me and especially for my young daughter who helps me paint a lot of my paintings, she contributes to almost everything I paint in some way. I want a river arts district for her. Like, I want there to be a strong arts community for her future in this area so that, you know, even if she doesn't become an artist, but if she were, that's there for her. She's got that community. She doesn't feel that. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be loneliness and things along her journey, and that's part of it. But I want there to be a place for her where she feels at home and at home in her expression. And really, I mean, I want that for everyone, to feel at home and expressing themselves and their authenticity and being true in that way. And so I'm in it for the long haul. I am ready to, I mean, today really buoyed my spirits as far as like, I'm ready to organize the crap out of more events and like, yeah, making this community as strong as possible, 100%. So that's where I see it in this region going.
That's great. Is there anything else anybody would like to add to the conversation that maybe they wanted to say but maybe didn't have a chance to?
I'll just say one. You know, a popular thing that's been said by all the people that come visit my tent, I wish there was more things like this.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I heard that. That's all. It's nothing big, but I thought, well, you know, what's the movie Field of Dreams? That you build it, they will come, right? Like you make it happen. The people show up. The people show up. They might spend $1. They might not spend anything. You know, they might not, but they saw it. Took it home. They took it home. They took a business card. Word of mouth is powerful in these little towns. Mm-hmm. It's very powerful, and it's free to give a compliment, pat on the butt or back or whatever. It's free, and that's one thing. It's two people told me that I made them cry talking the way I did on the stage. I thought that was really cool. I'll talk about it being inspired. I'll go home and we'll sit in front of a canvas again and see what we can figure out, right? And then I hear from the public, I wish there were more things like this. The public does not shun art. There's folks that sit behind real thick wood desks, right, that do. And that bridge needs to be built. They have no idea what is under the soil here, that comes from the soil here, and imported and exported from the soil here. And when they do, and if they showed up here today, hopefully they take that home and rearrange their way of thinking and allow more things like this. John City, Bristol, Kingsport, and surrounding areas, because the public wants it. The public, without them knowing it, needs it too, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I've heard that probably more than I've heard myself today, and I've talked a lot.
Oh, this is great. It's great insight. Anything else anybody would like to add to that?
Well, there is something to be said for things like this bring art to the people, right? Like, so my studio is in a museum, which is a wonderful facility, but sometimes things like that I think can feel inaccessible and like cloistered away, this has there's people walking by, there's people coming out of a hotel, there's people just coming out of a cafe. This is just really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't. My goal, with this festival, I was like, it was me saying, we will not be ignored. Like, you can't ignore us. We're here. It's huge. It was like a giant scream from my belly. Like, come see us. It's time.
Mm-hmm.
It's time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thanks for doing it, Marcy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, really.
I'm super grateful for y'all.
Yeah, well...
Thanks for helping us get the message out.
Right.
Yeah, thank you, Lee.
Glad to do it. It's been great conversation, and I'm glad to hear from all of you. It's great insight, valuable insight, I think. So thanks again for your time and insight, I would say. And I think you've done great work. It's a first of hopefully many great festivals. Maybe other cities too. I don't know. Outside.
I'm partial to this area. I really wanted to keep it focused on Southwest Virginia, Northeast Tennessee, and those were the artists that I wanted to focus on. Expanding to other cities, I can't even right now fathom that, and I'm pretty brain dead at this point, so maybe that's part of it. But I want it for this area. That's it. That's my goal.
Yeah, well, this is a beautiful place to do it, I think.
Oh, yeah.
It's a nice place, and it's interesting to see it, compared to Rhythm and Roots that were a couple of weeks ago, and it's similar but different. But I think it's great. I think this place should be used more often for stuff like this, for sure. And great work. I've enjoyed talking with you and learning about your work and seeing your work. So I appreciate you taking the time to do that. And I think on behalf of A Magazine and AAME.